top stories on the brief at this hour. It's safe to say farewell to the controversial cybersecurity levy on electronic banking transactions, at least for now. At the end of a two-day federal executive meeting, that's a FEC meeting, which also approved an initiative aimed at spurring economic growth through investments in infrastructure, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, announced that the policy is undergoing a review.
The position of government is that that policy has been suspended. That policy has been put on hold. That is the position of government for now. It is undergoing some form of review.
Well, there you have a minister. But the federal government also says the payment for access into airports across the country is now compulsory for all, and that includes the president and the vice president. Well, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace, Mr. Festus Keyamo, while briefing State House correspondents shortly after the FEC meeting, explained that the practice whereby individuals are given complimentary e-tags has resulted in significant loss for the aviation sector, running into billions of naira.
It is inconceivable that in our country it is the VIPs that don't pay for services, but it is the poor men that pay for services. The VIPs who are supposed to have money don't pay for services, but they compel poor men to pay for services. And I said no. So I got my team together. I said we need the backing of council to compel everybody. In fact, guess what? Our memo says, with the exception of the president and the vice president. The president overruled me. He said he and the vice president will pay. He said everybody. This has led in the past to loss of billions of naira, not millions, billions of naira annually because of this. And yet, our airport infrastructure, you know, they are decaying. I am helpless. I'm looking for concessionaires. I'm looking for help for decaying infrastructure, and they will be the first to cry out. These same VIPs, why are your toilets like this? Why are your toilets smelling? Why can't you do this? Why? They are the same people, but they don't pay for the services. So if we want improved infrastructure at the airport, we must pay for services.
Well, there you go. Let's head over to the National Assembly now, where the House of Representatives Committee on Financial Crimes is urging the House to invoke and apply its full powers against Binance Holdings Limited to ensure that the firm appears before it to answer petitions alleging irregularities perpetrated by Binance Holdings in Nigeria. The committee stated this at a briefing in the nation's capital, while asserting that all relevant government agencies will be invited to determine the extent of Binance's default and the relevant punitive measures. Meanwhile, the committee is also insisting that Binance Holdings Limited should be made to tender an apology to the House for seeking to, in its words, denigrate its integrity following allegations of soliciting bribes.
We recognize that the blackmail by Binance is merely an attempt to distract and draw attention away from the serious allegations of criminality against it, which is now compounded by its role in the security breach of the sovereign Nigerian state. It is notable that it was after it had unlawful and criminally smuggled Mr. Ajawal out of the lawful custody while his purported head, financial crime compliance, Mr. Trigan, had been remanded in pretrial custody at Kuje Correctional Facility, Abuja, on unlawful orders of Nigerian court by Binance on the 7th of May 2024, belatedly made allegations of solicitation of bribes purportedly made by the committee on the 8th of January 2024. After 4 months, the committee will continue with its legitimate function as indicated and will update the relevant authorities, the general public, and the press as the need arises.
And River State continues to be in the news. This time, Governor Simi Alaye Fubara has decried the debt burden inherited from previous administration of former Governor Wike, saying most of the projects commissioned in the state were not fully funded. Governor Fubara stated this during the commissioning of the Aleto-Ogale-Ebubuetil Road, also known as Old Bori Road in Eleme local government area. He said the contractors who handled the affected projects are returning for outstanding payments.
As we're going now, we'll be going with a white paper to show record and amount this project was awarded at the cost of 6.7 billion. And I can say boldly that no kobo is remaining. We've paid the contractor completely. The purpose of this is to let the world know that if there is one problem this administration has, is debt. Most of the projects that are being commissioned, they are coming for their balance payments, and it's running in millions and billions. I've said I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk because I am part of that system.
Leadership is service. Anytime leadership departs from service, then you are getting it wrong. And service should be service to the people, not service to a very few interests. Clearly, he came prepared. And I don't believe that any distraction is enough to take his focus away from the welfare and interest of the people.
And after security, the Plateau State Police Command has apprehended one Benjamin Basil, a student of Plateau State Polytechnic, Barkinladi campus, as the alleged mastermind of a failed bank robbery attempt in Jos. Parading the suspect at the police command headquarters in the state capital, Commissioner of Police Emmanuel Adesina said the suspect entered the bank with a suspected explosive device tied around his body. He then handed over a note to the cashier demanding for the sum of 100 million naira under the threat that the explosive will be detonated if his request was not granted.
A young man, suspected bomber, entered into the banking hall. When he entered, he moved straight to the office of the cashier and made demands. As he was doing this, the bank manager was alerted. And when the bank manager was alerted, he quickly also put get across to the security agencies. The men from the divisions from the Rantia were also alerted. After it was said done on him that security men have arrived in the premises, he took to his heels. As he took to his heels, he fell down. When he fell down, people around, the youths with the mobile men around, summoned courage and they grabbed him. They carefully removed the alleged bomb that he wired around his body, and he was arrested.
Well, elsewhere, the Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Uju Kennedy-Ohanaye, has threatened legal action on the Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly following his announcement to marry off 100 orphans who lost their parents to banditry in Mariga, Niger State. Now, speaking with journalists in the nation's capital, Abuja, the minister explains that the action violates the Child Rights Act, which stipulates protection for children. However, the Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly, Mr. Abdulmalik Serkindaji, has been explaining that his action is in good faith, stressing that traditional and religious leaders were contacted before that process started. And on to electoral matters. Ahead of the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC is asking for the support of civil society organizations for the mobilization of voters for registration and collection of their voter cards. INEC National Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu made the appeal at a meeting with representatives of civil society organizations in Abuja, and he says the commission will publish the list of all uncollected voter cards in the coming days. Well, let's talk education. Another industrial action may just be in the offing in Nigeria's public universities as members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, expressing dissatisfaction over the way their demands are being handled by states and federal government. A meeting of the National Executive Council of ASUU notes that no meaningful efforts by government have been made to address their demands in the last 10 years. Some of the demands of ASUU include the sanctity of legally constituted governing councils, review of a 2009 federal government and ASUU agreement, revitalization fund for public universities, payment of all earned academic allowances, amongst others. A statement signed by ASUU President Professor Emmanuel Osodeke says the union will reconvene after 2 weeks to review the situation and take a decisive action to address the issues. Well, let's now talk business. Nigeria's crude oil production recorded an uptick last month, rising to 1.28 million barrels per day in April, and that's from 1.23 million barrels per day in March. That's according to OPEC's latest monthly oil market report. The 51,000 barrels per day increase recorded in the month brings to a halt the 2 consecutive months of decline recorded in the country's oil production. Also, with this increase, Nigeria regained its leading position on the chart for Africa's top oil producers within OPEC, followed by Algeria and Libya. Meanwhile, Nigeria's oil rig count remained unchanged at 19 in the same month. And 2 French prison officers have been killed in an ambush on a prison van in Normandy. A prisoner, Mohamed Amra, known as The Fly, was being taken from court to a prison when a car rammed the prison van at a toll booth. Gunmen then opened fire at the prison officers, with 2 officers killed and 2 critically injured. We understand that several hundred police officers and gendarmes have been deployed to carry out a manhunt at the time of the ambush, which led to the escape of a prisoner. He was being transported back to jail in the town of Evro after attending a morning court hearing in Rouen. And sports news, Manchester City closed in on an unprecedented 4th Premier League title thanks to Erling Haaland's second half double to beat Tottenham 2-0 yesterday. City moved 2 points ahead of Arsenal at the top of the table with 1 game left to play, while defeat for Spurs means Aston Villa will finish 4th and qualify for the Champions League for the first time since 1983. It sets the stage for Sunday's season finale, with City now 2 points ahead of Arsenal and on a seemingly unstoppable surge to become the first club to win the Premier League 4 times in a row. There you have it, the top stories at this hour.